We came to final presentation. The final presentation will be done by Idham bin Halil. Before his presentation, I'd like to give you brief information about him. He is currently a senior lecturer in Marine Science Program, Faculty of Science and Marine Environment, University of Malaysia, Terengganu. He earned his bachelor degree on marine science from the University of Putra, Malaysia, and master degree in geoinformation science and Earth observation for environmental modeling and management from University of Southampton, United Kingdom. He worked as research officer at Malaysian Center for Remote Sensing from 1997 to 2008. His special focus and research are in remote sensing and geographical information system. Dr. Halil, may I invite you to start your presentation, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, INOC Director, professors, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Idham Khalil, Senior Lecturer in Marine Science Program, Faculty of Science and Marine Environment, UMT. I have over 15 plus years of experience in this amazing remote sensing and GIS field. First, I would like to thank the organizer, INOC, Institute of Marine Science and Technology, Dr. Ilul University, for the invitation and opportunity to share our experience here in UMT in dealing with coral mapping using drones. Some people may call it UAV or unmanned aerial vehicles. So let's start. So the first questions that we need to ask ourselves is how long does it take to survey coral reefs? A small study done by a group of Malaysians in Pulau Tioman in Pahang. It took them 32 days to finish surveying the coral reefs. The island is roughly around 56 kilometer shoreline length. So it took them almost a month to finish the coral survey. So in Malaysia, we have 42 marine parks that have been gazetted to safeguard our marine biodiversity in our waters. So just imagine how long it will take us to finish surveying or mapping all the coral reefs around our country. For today's talk, I will focus only a small area nearby to the Dr. Saifullah sites just now, a place called Labuan Marine Park here. All right, so if the conventional technique is would take us a very long time. So the second question would be, can we monitor coral reefs from space, right? The answer is yes. I give one example here. This is the mapping of coral reefs in South China Sea using a 3-meter spatial resolution Dove satellite. So A is basically the satellite image of an atoll coral reefs. B, just to show where basically the in situ or the sites verifications. C and D are basically the classification or maps of the corals. So we can clearly see that the images can be classified into deep reef, coral rubble, sand, seagrass, and reef. Also shallow reef 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. So, but in reality, because of Malaysia, we are close to the equator. We have this kind of satellite images all year round. We have very high cloud cover that I would say mapping exercise using satellite image could be hampered when cloud cover limits the image availability. So that's why I think we began looking at the possibilities of using drone for coral mapping way back in 2017. So it was not a one-man show business. The research was conducted together with Department of Fisheries Malaysia, National Hydrographic Center, and University Technology Malaysia. Each agencies and each institution plays a major role in this project. So In theory, spectral reflectance of corals is a fundamental parameter to coral reef remote sensing. We use these informations to map out the types and size of the corals. For those who are not very familiar about this reflectance curve, what I can say is each curve represents different types of coral life forms. For example, the blue one is basically massive non-acropora or massive life forms, this one. And then the branching acropora is the red one, and also this is the tabulate acropora. So as long as the spectral reflectance curve doesn't overlap each other, basically in theory, we can differentiate or we can classify the corals or the substrates based on spectral reflectance. So that's the idea, the main idea. All right, so this is the overall workflow of our projects. We put two sensors. The first one is multispectral sensors, and the second one is the normal RGB camera, ZenMuse camera, and this one is the multispectral camera or Mica sense sensor. We put both on board our DJI Matrix 100, right? And then after get the images, the photos, we run the standard procedures, correction and pre-processing of the images, and then we run the pixel-based classification. At that time, we only use the standard maximum likelihood supervised classification. We don't even have time to go for SVM yet. And then we also have ground truth team that went to the ground checking the real life form over there and even go until species level. So combining those two inputs from the drones and also the ground team, we can come out with the coral classification maps and also benthic habitat maps. All right. So this is the example of all the single drone images, right? We combine all the images and then we mosaic it, and then we proceed with the classification, coral reef map classification. We can also get the digital surface model because when we fly the drones, basically the overlapping is 60 to 80% depending on the orientation. So, but for the purpose of this today's presentation, I will not share about the digital surface model. I will only focus on the classification of the coral maps. Right. The classification scheme that we use basically is modified and adapted from NOAA 2005 and Safwan et al. 2016. We have three levels of classification. The level one, we just want to know which area is coral and which area is non-coral. Level two, a bit details. We want to see if it is non-coral, then can we differentiate that coral, algae, sand, rock, silts, and other. And the third one, which is more details, we classify the non-coral into that coral with rubble, that coral with macroalgae, sand, submerged rocks, sandglean, or waves, and identify unidentified objects or features. And then we try to have a look, is it possible for drone images to categorize coral based on their life forms. So the general life forms that we are interested is tabular, branching, massive, and aggregated patch reef. So this is the example of pictures or photos from our ground team or the diving team and the snorkeling team. So this is the branching coral, massive coral, tabular coral, and aggregated patch reef. All right, so in total, we got 34,146 images that need to be processed, need to be mosaic, and then after that we need to come up with the classification. Bear in mind that each Mica sense photos consists of 5 bands, so just multiply that by 7411, 6386, and so on. So we have huge amount of data set basically. Each yellow dots here represent one snapshot of the drone image. We have covered 3 islands in Labuan Marine Park, Rusukan Besar, Rusukan Kecil, and Pulau Kuraman. Right, challenges. What are difficulties that we face in the project? The first one in the box A. So we get poor mosaic because whenever we do a mapping in waters, in shallow waters, it's not as easy as we do mapping in terrestrial area, because it's very hard to get matching points in the waters due to so many factors: turbidity, quality of the water, water columns, and all that. So it's very hard to get the matching points, and then so it will produce poor mosaic. Second one, turbid water. As you can see here, we wait 3 days to fly in this area, right? And suddenly it was raining about half an hour, I think, and all there is rivers basically going through the sea, and this is all what we get: very turbid water, and we cannot see the coral. The only clear images that we get is in Pulau Sukan Kecil, a very nice photo, 5 centimeter spatial resolution, and bear in mind that we have 5 bands, right? And this is the Rusukan Besar. We can see that even the bottom of it is very clear water at that time. All right. So based on a few years of experience, I would like to share with our colleagues in Turkey that we really recommend that this kind of study to be conducted during neap tide, because we get clear water. And please in our region, we have to start working early from 7 until 9. Above 9 in the morning, then we get this one. Very nice sungleam, but we get very frustrated when we see sungleam in our images, because we cannot see anything down there, right? And of course, please choose a very not a windy day to fly your drone. We have several cases, because when we send our drone from the shoreline, it's about half a kilometer. So it's very risky, because we have our multi-spectral sensor on board, which costs us about 20,000-30,000 ringgit Malaysia just for the sensor, not including the drone itself. All right. So our ground truth team went to 159 stations to do the verification all over the islands, right? This is all the points. So basically, we do the spot check either by snorkeling or by scuba diving, depending on the depth of the water. Right. Coming to the result section, the first classification, level 1. So the pink color is basically the coral area, and the green color is basically non-coral, right? So we can easily see here that we can estimate, or we can calculate the area. So live coral is basically around 20% of the whole area. So this kind of information is very helpful for marine managers or marine park authority to make decision. So this will help them. And the second level result is much more interesting, because you can see the live coral, dead coral, algae, sand, rock, and silt. We combine these three because as the previous professors mentioned, sometimes we do have mixed classes in our image classification. So to deal with that, we need to basically to filter out and some other alternative methods. But because this is the first our first project, so we run it on the basic classification first, right? And then the third level of classification, we can see here clearly that drone images, okay, can classify the life forms. So here we get 2.2% of massive coral, 25% of dead coral, 6.11% of branching coral, and 1.66% of tabular coral, and 44.58% is submerged rocks. So this kind of information would really help managers to quantify, translate this information into economic, into numbers, because people now is always asking for numbers in terms of budget preparation and all that. So Marine Park Department is very happy with this project, And then we conduct the project to 3 islands, another islands, but due to the pandemic, we need to put on hold the project. So we are really hoping that the pandemic is over so that we can continue our works. Right. So in terms of accuracy, as I mentioned earlier, we test 2 sensors. The first one is the RGB camera, the standard one using by the drones, and the second one is the MICA sense, multispectral sensors. So the accuracy for ZenMuse or RGB camera is almost 70% accuracy, and the MICA sense is 75% accuracy. So depending on your budget, basically, you can decide whether you want to go to multispectral sensors or use the standard ZenMuse sensor. All right, this is the kappa statistic for those who want to have a very detailed looks after this. Right, so before I end, I would like to introduce our team that have been working very hard in this project. Prof. ID, basically the project leader, myself, Dr. Shaukat, and Dr. Ifan is focused on the image processing in the project. And Prof. Zainuddin is basically our marine ecologist expert in UMT. He's leading the in situ team, scuba diving and snorkeling team. All right, and we have 2 anchor person here, Azam and Zul Kamal, our 2 pilots of the drones. Right. So in terms of publication, we produced until now 4 publications. Please feel free to have a look at the publication in remote sensing and geocarto, and then 2 other publications also in geocarto. Right. So in conclusions, I can say that the study has demonstrated that drones are able to reliably map coral reefs area. As associated technologies improve access to high quality information, they will continue to be critical source of information to reef managers, scientists, and conservationists. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, before I end, I share a quote from William James. We are like islands in the sea, separate on the surface, but connected on the deep. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I end my presentation. Thank you.
Itham Halil, thank you very much for your very interesting presentation, especially about remote sensing and geographical information system.